Okay, so what we're going to do is we are going to analyze character motivation. Here's how you're going to do it. You need a long piece of paper and you need scissors. So I'm going to briefly show you how to do this. If you need to get replayed, the sub of course could replay it, but you need to pay attention. Your end product, let me show you what your end product will look like. It's going to look like this. Okay, there's going to be 6 little tabs, okay, like so. Okay. First, you take your piece of paper, fold it in half. Open it back up. Fold it down the middle so it becomes a barn door style folding. Put the creases really, really well. Like, really do them very, very well. Okay. So, now you have it. Boom, boom, barn door. So, how do you make the pretty tabs? The best way to do it is actually to open it back up again. Fold it in half again. Like you originally had folded. You're going to cut twice. Before you cut, make sure you check with the people around you that you're doing it right. You are cutting the part that opens. You're cutting it twice. 1, 2. Make them even. 1. Straight to the fold. 2. Make them even. Okay? When you open them back up, you can recrease. Perfect. Okay, that's what you're going to do. So if you need to pause, if the substitute needs to go back and like replay or whatever, feel free to do that. Okay, now what you're going to do is you've got your flappy parts on the back. I want you to put your heading. Whoops, this guy. Your name, my name, ELA with the class period and the date. On the fronts, you're going to put little VS. VS means versus. VS, VS, VS. Okay. Inside, you're going to put the word motivation, 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 and evidence, and evidence. So, I'm going to re-say it again. The verses are on the front. VS, VS, VS. See them? Oh, it's so cute. Okay. The inside is going to be motivation, motivation, right? Because this will be little man's motivation, Miss Crocker's motivation, and then your evidence, evidence, evidence. That's how you should have them titled. Okay, here we go. What you're going to do is you are going to work with the group of 3 that you sit with to analyze chapters 2, 3, and 4 in terms of conflict. Okay, so if you only sit with 2 people, you're still going to do 2, 3, and 4. You just will only do 6 conflicts from there. Okay. You are not having the same information as the people that you are working with. You're actually all taking different types of conflicts. So I'm just going to real quick give you guys an example from chapter 1. So this is all chapter 1. So I'm going to look through chapter 1. And I'm going to decide my conflicts. Okay, there was Little Man versus Miss Crocker. We could also have Little Man versus the book. Because it doesn't have to be conflict between 2 characters. It can be between a character and an object or like the weather or something like that. And then, or we can have, I'm trying to think of a good character versus self. Or we can have, let's see, a character versus self. What was a good one? Where someone had, I don't know. We could just put down Cassie versus Cassie. Okay. So your character, your verses, those can be 2 characters. That can be a character and something that is not a character. Could be rules of some kind. You want to be specific. You don't want to just say rules. You want to say what's specific about the rules or in society or, you know, that kind of stuff. And then, or it can be a character versus themselves, like an internal struggle. Like if Cassie has to make a decision or something like that. Okay? Alrighty. Everybody, flip on over to page 24. So, on page 24, those of you guys who have the other version of the text, go to the chart, and then I'm talking about the part before it. Oh, you know what? I'm sorry, not 24. I'm a terrible lot. No, I'm right. Okay. All right. So, what is the motivation of Little Man having that conflict with Miss Crocker? Okay. Some of you guys might instantly have said, oh, his book was dirty, right? He doesn't like dirty books. Like, that's his motivation. But you need to reread, because Little Man looked at the books and he realized he wasn't going to be able to get one, and he sat back down. It wasn't until page 24 that we actually get his motivation for his conflict with that teacher. I watched Little Man as he scooted into his seat beside two other little boys. He sat for a while with a stony face looking out the window. Then, evidently accepting the fact that the book in front of him was the best that he could expect, he turned and opened it. So he accepted that he wasn't going to be able to get a clean book. But as he stared at the book's inside cover, his face clouded, changing from sulky acceptance to puzzlement. His brows furrowed, then his eyes grew wide, and suddenly he sucked in his breath and sprang from the chair like a wounded animal, flinging the book onto the floor and stomping madly upon it. It is not that the book was dirty. It is that Little Man realized what was in the cover, and therefore the reason why it was dirty, and he realized it was unfair. So what I would have written, obviously you guys aren't doing chapter 1, so you're not writing this. What I wrote in my motivation for Little Man was, Little Man knows it is unfair and unjust for him to have these hand-me-down books. Okay? Then, over in evidence, is my textual evidence that supports that. And my textual evidence is that is a lot of text. Yes, but I need to use all of that for my evidence. Now, when you're quoting from the book, you use quotation marks. After the quotation marks, in parentheses, you put the page number after the author's name. So I should, after that, upon it, quote, parentheses, Taylor, author's last name, space, and the page number for me was page 24, close parentheses. So that's something that's kind of new for you guys, so make sure you do it, okay? Now, when it came to Miss Crocker's motivation, I had to look not just at what she said to the class about how they're nice books, but I went to then flip forward to page 30, where she's talking to Mary Logan about the incident. And Mary Logan, like, agrees with her children, and she says on page 28, she goes, a perfectly good book ruined. Look at the broken binding and those foot marks. And then she says, when Mary Logan is trying to say, no, we shouldn't have this, you know, we don't necessarily have to accept it. Miss Crocker says, if somebody from the superintendent's office ever comes down here and sees that book, you'll be in real trouble, because she changes, right? Because she changes out the paper. And she says to Mary Logan, she says, biting the hand that feeds you. That's what you're doing, Mary Logan. You're biting the hand that feeds you. So Miss Crocker feels her motivation is that the books are useful, and that you shouldn't do anything that might anger the people in power. That's her motivation. And I know that's because she says on page 30, biting the hand that feeds you, Mary Logan, right? So that tells me what Miss Crocker's motivation is. Okay, so you're going to find textual evidence. You have to go back and find the textual evidence in order to really understand the motivation. Because if you rely on memory, honestly, guys, you're going to put down wrong answers like Little Man wanted a clean book. And that really wasn't the main conflict. The main conflict was Little Man knew it was totally unfair. So at your group, you guys are analyzing 9 conflicts from chapters 2 to 4. You're not repeating. So what you're going to do is go with your group partners, start saying, okay, what were conflicts in chapter 2? And one of you is going to start writing down theirs, and you're going to decide which ones you want and all that kind of stuff. And let me just say this to help you guys out a little bit. You can have 2 different conflicts with the same characters. So there is the conflict with the bus trying to run the children off the road in chapter 1, but then there's a different conflict with the children versus the bus in the other later chapters. So you can have it where there might be one person is Cassie versus Stacy, and it's over a certain conflict, and the other person might do Cassie versus Stacy, certain conflict in chapter 2, and then there might be a different conflict with them in chapter 4. So you can have it where there's multiple conflicts of the same people, between the same people, but they're different conflicts. Okay, so each person does 3. You should be done and be able to turn these into the substitute today. You should be able to. You must use your book. When you are in a group, it is not to socialize. It is actually to try to help each other with your motivation and stuff like that. If you're done with this in 10 minutes, you're probably not doing it exactly how you should be. All right, so good luck. I'm also going to post this on Edmodo, so if you do need to finish it tonight, you can. Bye.